Chapter 10. How stands your disposition to be married? Juliet Capulet had about the worst case of bedhead I'd ever seen. Masses of kinky brown hair shot up in the air in a chaotic defiance of gravity. "I am not sleepy," she informed me. Me neither. How could I be? I was already asleep. Juliet slid out of bed and tiptoed over to Nurse. As the exhausted woman breathed deeply, Juliet tied Nurse's apron strings to the chair's back rungs. She had to stop for a moment to stifle a giggle. Nurse shifted her hips but just kept sleeping. Juliet tied a front knot across Nurse's roly-poly belly. Juliet tiptoed back to bed and pulled off a blanket. "Nurse is such a bother," she whispered to me. "Bosses me around all day. Do this, do that, come hither, go thither." Her voice was somewhat boyish, the way mine sounds when I have a cold. We sat cross-legged on the floor beneath a shuttered window. "I'm Juliet." "I'm Mimi." Cracks in the wooden shutters let in bits of daylight. Juliet stared at me with large brown eyes, like I was some kind of alien. She had a round face with a clump of freckles on the edge of her nose. Not scattered like freckles, but just dumped in one place. She wasn't at all like Fernando's Juliet, full-lipped and perfect. Nor was she like Hollywood's Juliet, graceful and angelic. She looked real, the way a girl is supposed to look. A real girl, cute and full of energy, like she'd be more comfortable in soccer gear than in her long nightgown that dripped with lace and bows. But what I most noticed was how young she was. She reached up and took a little knife from the windowsill. She started poking the wall with the blade, flaking off pieces of plaster. "Are you going to the party?" "If your mother can find me a dress," I told her. "My parents are giving me this bothersome party because they want me to get married." She stabbed the wall extra hard. "I am not yet 14 and they want me to get married. Mother had a baby by 15. She scrunched her nose. "At 15?" I asked, horrified, remembering the Oprah show about girls in Africa whose insides got torn apart because they gave birth too young. I shuddered. Nurse snored loudly, her chin resting on her overflowing cleavage. Juliet leaned close. "Mother says that Paris will seek my hand tonight. He is a member of Prince's family and twice my age. I am to marry an old man." She flicked another piece of plaster. Multiple holes covered the wall from previous attacks. She said that marrying her own daughter into the Prince's family is an excellent route for the Capulet name, but what she really wants is his money. "Have you told your mother you don't want to get married?" I asked. Juliet frowned. "What good would that do? She does not care what I want. She only cares about the Capulet name." How painfully familiar. Two daughters, both alike in dignity, forced down paths of their mother's choosing. I had never realized the similarity between Juliet's and my plight. It made perfect sense that my subconscious had selected this story for my dream world. "My mother's the same way," I confided. "She only cared about me becoming an actor. She owned a theater in Manhattan. She wanted me to follow in her footsteps." Juliet stopped stabbing and widened her eyes. "You are an actor? On the stage?" I nodded. "A troupe was here last month. They performed some Greek tragedies. It looked like so much fun. They get to travel the world. I am not allowed to leave the house except to attend church or family gatherings." She leaned closer. "Your husband allows you to act?" "I don't have a husband." Juliet narrowed her eyes. "Did your husband die?" I shook my head. "I've never been married. You don't have to get married in Manhattan if you don't want to." For a moment she sat speechless, letting the knife fall to the floor. "Amazing! I want to go there. Will you take me there?" I really don't want to go back there. How about we go somewhere else? How about Paris or London?" Why not? It was a dream, after all. "You do not wish to go home?" She smiled. "Then we shall run away together." Nurse farted and momentarily woke herself up. Juliet and I froze until she had nodded back to sleep. I giggled because by far it was the loudest fart I had ever heard. Juliet stood and began to pace, her crazy hair bobbing to and fro. "What am I talking about? My mother will never let me run away. She would send her guards after me even to the far corners of the world." She stomped her foot. "And tonight I have to go to that wretched party and meet the old windbag who wants to marry me. He spied me last month when I attended a cousin's wedding and claims he fell in love with me at first sight. He said I am as beautiful as one of his roses. He is obsessed with flowers, spends all his time in his garden. He told my father that there can be no lovelier addition to his flower collection than me. He will probably stick me in a vase." She shuddered. "I must find a way to make him not in love with me so he will withdraw his proposal." I considered myself the expert on making guys not in love. All those plays, all those leading men, and not one, except Troy, had ever asked me on a date. if you count kissing lessons a date. Aunt Mary said that my family name made me unapproachable, and my mother, who intimidated everyone, served as a major roadblock. Aunt Mary said my lack of dates had nothing to do with who I was inside. I didn't believe her. If somebody really wanted to date me, they would have found a way. Even if it meant dealing with my mother, even if it meant climbing an enemy's balcony. "Will you help me get rid of Paris?" Juliet asked. Getting rid of Paris sounded like a lot of fun. He's such a butthead in the play. Sure, but how? I am not certain. I only know that I do not wish to be his pretty little flower. Then why not become an ugly weed? I suggested. Her mischievous expression returned. Brilliant! She exclaimed, clapping her hands in glee. Nurse remained in a stupor as Juliet opened a door onto a small balcony. The balcony. Light spilled in and a warm breeze drifted through the room. I discarded the blanket and stood next to her as she leaned over the railing. "Boy!" she called, trying to restrain her voice. The boy from the apricot orchard sat on a crate in the street below. He scrambled to his feet. "Yes," he answered, giving me a little wave. "Do you know a man named Paris who lives in the villa at the edge of town, the one with all the flowers?" The boy nodded. "I should like you to go to him. Tell him that you overheard some women in the market. Tell him that you thought he might be interested in what you overheard because it concerned Juliet Capulet. Then pretend that you are too embarrassed to continue because it concerns a delicate matter. He will urge you to speak." She snickered and looked over her shoulder. Nurse snored on. Juliet tiptoed back into the room, removed a coin from the wooden chest, and tiptoed back onto the balcony. "What shall I tell him, my lady?" the boy asked. "Tell him that the women were discussing a boil, the likes of which has never before been seen, and that this boil resides on Juliet's bottom." She paused for a moment, strumming her fingers as she thought. "Tell him that it is a reoccurring boil that bursts forth every full moon." She snickers again. "Tell him that Juliet is in such a pain that she cannot dance, so the party has been cancelled. Did you get all that?" The boy nodded. "Juliet has a boil on her bottom, the likes of which before has never been seen. It bursts forth with every full moon." "Yes, but don't forget that Juliet cannot dance, so the party has been cancelled." "Right, cancelled. Remember that you overheard this at the market." Juliet tossed the coin. The boy caught it and ran off. "He is a good loyal boy," she told him. "He will tell no one that I sent him. We shall see what Paris thinks of girls with boily bottoms." I decided then and there that I really liked her. She was the crazy little sister I never had, a rebel at heart. She was my alter ego. The bedroom door opened and Lady Capulet entered. The room's temperature instantly dropped a few degrees. "Why are you two not napping? Move away from that breeze," she hissed. "You shall both come down with fevers." Juliet closed the balcony door as two servants entered the bedroom, each carrying a gown. "Put those on the bed," her ladyship directed. Then she leaned over to Nurse and called her name. Nurse awoke with a jolt, and kicked out her legs so hard that she kicked Lady Capulet in the shin. Get up, Lady Capulet ordered, waving her hands as Nurse struggled to free herself from the tied apron strings. "Whatever is the matter with you? Are you having some sort of fit? Go on, get out of here. I wish to speak with my daughter and our guest." Juliet smirked as Nurse slammed the chair against the wall a few times, finally freeing herself. "Beastie," Nurse mumbled as she and the servants fled. "Daughter," Lady Capulet said, "I bring wonderful news. We have concluded negotiations with Paris, and it is agreed on all parties that the wedding shall take place as soon as possible, perhaps by week's end." Juliet's mouth hung open in disbelief, but she didn't say a word. Perhaps she had learned, as I had, that some arguments could never be won. Lady Capulet kissed her daughter's forehead. "Prepare yourself to meet your future husband." She tried to pat down Juliet's hair, but it stubbornly refused to oblige. "I shall send the hairdresser." Juliet did not move for a very long time after her mother had left. Her arms hung limp and she stared at the floor. "Juliet," I asked, touching her shoulder, "I am to marry a man I have not even met." She started to breathe quickly. "There's still hope. Remember the boil." "I feel strange," she said. "I feel like the room is getting smaller. I feel so trapped." She flung the balcony door open, gasping for air. "Calm down," I told her, and as I often told myself, "it'll be okay." But would it? If my dream followed the traditional storyline, then Juliet was doomed to commit suicide in a few days' time. In that case, she was trapped in a Shakespearean tragedy. However, this was my dream, so I wouldn't let that happen. "My heart's beating so quickly. Why must they force me to marry?" She clung to the rail. Her hands began to shake and her jaw began to tremble. Tears rolled down her flushed cheeks. She opened her mouth, taking in shallow breaths. Wow, it was like watching myself. You're having a panic attack, I realized, clutching her hands. Panic? Yes, I do feel a sense of panic. I cannot catch my breath. Listen to my voice. We have to slow your breathing or you'll hyperventilate. I started to chant my centering mantra over and over. Do it with me, I insisted, and she did. Omia, 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 until her breathing slowed and we both sank to the balcony stone floor. She cried for a bit, and I kept hold of her hands. Shakespeare may have created this predicament, but I was the one who could change it. I wasn't going to let this girl kill herself, even if it meant I had to stay in this dream for a very long time. I determined not to wake up until Juliet got her happy ending. One of us deserved a happy ending. I do not wish to get married, she pleaded, squeezing my fingers. We'll come up with a plan, I assured her. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to help you get out of this engagement.